from Kakamega area. So we are looking at bees within the farmlands that actually surround the Kakamega forest. So you can actually see here, all these are different species of bees except these two. These are butterflies, which are also equally important.
These two species?
Yeah, these are butterflies, yes.
Yeah. What are the species of butterflies?
Yeah, we have within the farmlands of Kakamega, specifically on the hedgerows, which were mainly from Lantana Kamara. So here we have got different kinds of bees, ranging from small, and then we have the medium-sized bees, and then we have the large bees. And so depending on looking at the size of the bees and even the structure, can actually tell you the different kinds of flowers they'll visit. So for example, the large bees that you see over here, these are the carpenter bees. So they come in different varieties, forms, and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And these are actually the bees that are very important when it comes to the pollination of legumes. So in legumes, we mean beans, pigeon bees, the different kinds of beans are pigeon peas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some of them are actually forage plants, like there's this plant, what is it called? Sesbania. Yeah, it's actually a very important forage plant, and also a hedgerow. And legumes are very important for fixing of nitrogen. And so when you have them in the hedgerow, in the hedges, and bees visit them,
mm-hmm.
it means you're going to have a good crop, that's the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so again, studies have also shown that if you look at the nutrients that are pollinated,
mm-hmm.
are well pollinated,
mm-hmm.
and the ones that are not well pollinated, then you find the ones which are well pollinated have got higher nutrient content. If they are seed crops, oil crops, like sunflowers, for example,
mm-hmm.
The ones that are well pollinated have larger heads, and they've got a larger quantity of oil content, in them compared to the ones that are less pollinated. Yeah, so these lines of the carpenter bees are actually very important when it comes to the pollination of that.
And how do you encourage pollinator bees?
Yeah, okay. You can actually do this by one, say for example, knowing the different kinds of nesting materials the bee require. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Because some bees will nest, say like in dry twigs,
mm-hmm.
others will nest on the grounds.
Mm-hmm.
The carpenter bees mostly prefer the dry twigs or the dead branches on the trees,
mm-hmm.
and so you will see them drilling their nest
mm-hmm.
in there. So if those ones are lucky,
mm-hmm.
then you find them on the roof, on the roof timbers.
Yeah, the edge, they make holes.
Trying to make holes.
Yeah.
And so in that case, they become very destructive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So alternatively, if you can actually look at the wood that they prefer,
mm-hmm.
and then you actually provide those ones along the fences. Okay, you make them like poles along the fences.
Do you have like a piece or something? Maybe you've done like
I have some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe I can post those ones for you to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, what you can do with this kind of bees, because many of the bees that occur in our farms,
mm-hmm.
are solitary bees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and being solitary is not very easy to actually breed them. As you probably do with the honeybees and any other social bees, because they're easier to manage, and you can breed them in one place and actually multiply those colonies several times as much as you want. Okay, but this one's given that they're solitary, their lifestyle is completely different, and so not very easy to pick. So what you can do is to encourage or do practices that actually creates habitats for these bees to come and live in within the farms. Okay, so that's one way you can maintaining healthy hedgerows.
Okay,
is one way of keeping them.
Yeah, I'm just asking myself. This one, since they bore holes in those timbers, can you just pick an old trunk and just with a drill just create holes in that timber and leave it for them on the edges?
Not really. It's very tricky with the bees, yeah, because when they drill those holes, they do them at certain angles, okay, and they prefer certain woods than others, okay. So you might do that, but maybe the drill that you do is not the preferred angle, okay, yeah. So they might not necessarily, occupy that, but when they're desperate, probably, yeah, when they're desperate, then probably they can actually inhabit those areas. But the best would be to actually encourage those dry woods in the farms, so that now the bees will come and drill the holes
themselves
the way they want them. Okay.
So you take dry twigs and just put them on the edges around the farm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so they'll come. So you actually find different kinds of bees. Yeah, the ones that prefer nesting on dry twigs, will actually come and occupy those. So in essence, you're trying to create a habitat that is actually suitable for the bees. Okay, so that now they can reside within your farms. Okay, and so there's also ones that some actually like these tiny ones. Some of reside on the ground. The ones that reside on the ground, one thing you encourage is you can leave some the ground bare. Okay, you don't cultivate them so frequently. Yeah, and so in those areas, and you can also do that along the edges of the farm, so you don't have. Will find places that they can nest and disturbed. Okay, and the other thing we also encourage is minimum tillage. Yeah. If you can afford minimum tillage, because people say it has its own advantages and disadvantages, but one of the advantages that you have with minimum tillage, it doesn't disturb the soil so much. Okay, and if the soil is not so much disturbed, then actually these bees can reside within the farm areas.
Okay. And have you looked at production of the plant when, like let's say sunflower, when it's tilled and when it's not tilled? When somebody just makes a hole just for the seed, and when it's tilled?
No, we actually haven't done such kind of an experiment. But I can quote for this a study that was done in Kakamega. Yeah, that actually was looking at the different kinds of bees that were available in the farm, the different species, and the crops they were visiting. Okay, and so this experiment, some crops were, some flowers were bagged. It meaning that you cover the flower with a net, and the bees cannot access it. Okay, and others were left open. Okay, now that there was a very, like for the beans, the ones that were left open meant that bees would visit them. Yeah, and comparing the yields was 15% higher in the ones that were open pollinated compared to those ones that were bagged. Okay, yeah, and so now translating that one, into finally the economics of it.
Yes.
Yeah, then you find that it's a very huge difference.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, and what was so interesting in this study was that within those farm areas, honeybees were actually the most abundant species, and they were seen visiting different kinds of flowers. Okay. Yeah, but their contribution towards crop pollination was just 10%, even though they were the most frequent visitors of flowers there. The 90% of the pollination was actually done by these feathers. Okay?
Yeah, the
larger bees, so we call these are carpenter bees. The medium-sized ones are called the leaf cutter bees. Again, these ones of legumes. Now, the small bees actually visit different kinds of or different kinds of herbaceous crops, no, herbaceous plants, sorry. Yeah, and some of these plants are actually very important for medicinal purposes, and some could actually be very important when it comes to very important weeds in the farms. Yeah, of course, weeds economically weeds will have a negative effect. Yeah, but some of these herbaceous plants that they visit, many of them were found to be important forage plants. Some of them were important medicinal plants. Yeah, and a lot more research actually needs to be done on with these small bees to see what kind of herbaceous plants they visit and how are those plants useful to the human society. Okay, so because ours we just focused on the crops parts of it. Yeah, but remember in our study we were looking at other than the crops, which other plants do bee visit their flowers. Okay, yeah, and you can actually use those plants as alternatives, particularly when the crops are out of season. Okay, then these are the plants that are also visited by bees can provide forage during those times. Yeah.
To sustain them.
Yeah, to sustain the numbers. Yeah, because again, one interesting thing is looking at the way our seasons change. We have these cycles of the dry season, the wet season, the dry season, the wet season. Yeah, and this is about a 3 months lapse. Okay, yeah, and so bees are entirely dependent on flowers. They don't visit, they don't feed on any other part of the plant. It's the nectar and the pollen grains. Okay, so you can imagine, if 3 months crops are not there, and there is no sufficient forage around, their numbers are going to go down. Yeah, but now what you ask yourself, if those numbers go down, and then you start planting your crops, and by the time your crops mature, they start flowering, you don't have sufficient numbers of the bees. Okay, yeah, that means the bee population will be lagging behind the crop or flower densities. Okay, and so it means, of course, your crops will be flowered, will be pollinated, but you may not have that maximum yield. Yeah, as one would have expected. Now, again, it is important to note that pollination dependency actually varies from one crop to the other. Okay, like I said, for the cucurbits, that is the watermelons, the courgettes, pumpkins, what else is in that group? Yeah, gourds. Okay, yeah, cucumbers. Yeah, those are 100% dependent on bees. Okay, and most of the wild bees. Okay, now, in a case where you don't have bees in your farm at the time they're flowering, then you will not have a fruit. And the reason is simple. It's because this group of plants produce separate male and female flowers. And the pollen grains are so heavy that they cannot be blown off by wind. So they've got to get an agent, which is more an animal agent, and this is usually the bees. Okay, so if the bees are not there, then perhaps the farmer himself, the human beings, will now start getting flowers from different, from the anthers of the males,
Yes.
and transferring them into the stigmas of the females. And so you can imagine that amount of work,
Yeah.
and bees are doing this on free, okay, without asking you. So without, it's a free service that you get, and so that's why the bees are actually very important for that. Yeah. Now some crops like beans, beans actually, I'll say the dependence ratio is much low. It's say about 15%. Okay. Now, in the sense that these crops, they actually they are self-fertile. Okay. So pollination can still take place. Okay, in the absence of bees.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they can self-pollinate. Okay. But now, if you bring in bees, then the yields actually can increase by a margin of 10 to 15%. Okay, but again now, the coming in of bees encourages cross-pollination. Okay, and so you have genes being exchanged between different plants. Okay, and an offspring that is produced actually has got more of vigor in terms of genetic makeup than the parents. Okay, and so with that one now, then with the cross pollination, then you encourage gene mixing, and actually when the forces of natural selection come, then you get an offspring that can actually survive. Okay?
So if you want to improve crops on your farm, encourage if you want to strong crops that survive the different elements, encourage bees.
Yes, yeah. In fact, there was a study that was done in, I think it was in Belgium, not Belgium, in Germany. They were looking at strawberries, the ones that are cross-pollinated and the ones that are self-pollinated. Okay, so one thing they found was the ones that were cross-pollinated had produced heavier berries, okay, than the ones that are self-pollinated. Now, number two, looking at the shelf life of the fruits, the ones that were cross-pollinated had longer shelf life than the ones that were self-pollinated. So it means they will stay for a longer time without getting spoiled.
So are you trying to tell me now the seeds we get like in seed companies, the ones they mark as F1 that have those strengths, they're most likely what they have done is just ensured that there's more cross-pollination.
Okay, that's what they do. Yeah, because to produce seeds, yeah, you need to have cross-pollination taking place. Okay? Yeah, but those commercial seeds, what they do is the seed that they give you can actually do not produce very so well. If you take the plant, if you harvest the crop directly and then plant those same seeds, you will not get the same amount of yield as the ones that you bought. Do you understand?
Yes. But how do they make sure that the seeds that they give you mass produce like that? Is it because of the cross-pollination of the original plant?
Well, there are different
because
things
they have those characteristics at the end, shelf life.
There are different things that are involved in plant breeding. Okay.
Yes.
And remember, this is also on a commercial aspect. I don't want to sell you seeds, and then next season you plant the same seed and get the same yield. Otherwise, I'll be out of business.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I do is I produce a seed, sell to you. Okay. You grow it, you get maximum yield. But if you pick a seed from that plant and grow it in the next season, you don't get the same yield.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I get you.
Because it's a commercial. Others can be out of business.
Yes.
And the way Kenyans will like dabbing, where somebody gets one take, and then the whole village will copy you. Yeah. Yeah, but looking back into
bees.
Yeah, back into the bees. Yeah. People are very much familiar only with the honeybees. Okay. And the moment you mention bees, people associate bees with